All right. Thank you, ladies, again for joining me today on this beautiful Wellness Wednesday. Today, we are going to bring you a conversation about how to manifest more abundance into your life without actually having to have anything extra aside from just yourself. Because you, as an individual, are so abundant in so many ways, and we just want to remind you of ways that you can shift your perspective when you wake up in the morning to start out on a good note, and to just every single second of the day just experience more abundance. I want to share with you a quote that came to mind by Wayne Dyer that says, "Abundance is not something that you acquire. It's actually something that you tune into." So like I mentioned, that you don't need anything extra to create more abundance. All you need is yourself and the ability to tune into that frequency. So me and Brontë have had the opportunity to discuss some of the things that you can do to create more abundance in your life. And we are going to start out by with gratitude, actually, because we know that gratitude, or if you don't know, gratitude is a magnet for miracles. And the more you appreciate what you have, the more you'll value what comes in. So Brontë, tell me a little bit about how you start your day with gratitude.
I actually it's very similar to the 5-minute journal that a lot of people advertise or talk about, but I just made my own in a Google Doc. And so I just start off with writing 3 things that I'm grateful for. And when we are shifting that mindset of gratefulness, it produces more abundance in our life. It's just way to be more appreciative of of certain things that are in our life, and that way we kind of bring more of that in. If you think about individuals that are really grateful about receiving gifts, right, you're more willing to get them more gifts. It's kind of in that sense. So the more grateful you are, the more of those positive things are going to be coming into your life. And it might also just be a mindset shift too, where you're seeing more things that you're grateful for that you maybe didn't recognize before. So just taking that time to write that out has been really helpful. Sometimes it might be little things like, I'm really grateful for my comfortable bed, and little things like that. So it just kind of shifts that mindset. So I start off with that. And actually what we were going to talk about next were the affirmations too, but did you have more to talk about with the gratitude on your end?
Well, another quote came to, I love quotes, and I'm a big personal development junkie, I would call myself. And I love Tony Robbins. If you're not familiar with Tony is the king of personal development. And one of the things that he says is, when you are grateful, fear disappears and abundance appears. So it's, I can say here, I can say that fear, it really is an illusion. It's something that when we create it in our head oftentimes. And so it's just when you are able to shift your perspective on what's happening and really just be grateful for the experience of even feeling that fear, right? It automatically, it's like it's magic. It will shift that fear into an appreciation for something that's already there. So I love that. I love that you do the journal, because that's something that I do too. I love to write at least 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for, either at the beginning of the day. And you don't even have to write it, but I love the fact that when it is in writing, it's almost as though it's like confirmed, right? And it's something that you can even go back to. And when you're having days where maybe you can't remember things that you're grateful for, like, you can go back to what you've written and you can see, like, this is really how I live my life every day. So why am I getting away from that? Do you know what I mean? So that's awesome. That's awesome that you write it. So go into setting your daily intentions and your affirmations, and maybe talk about the difference between the two.
Hmm. Well, I was going to roll with that, the journal. So after the gratitude, then I write affirmations afterwards. And so, the, I think really the affirmations can be relatable to the intentions, but the affirmations is what I think can be relatable to how we consume superfoods, right? To feel our best, our bodies to feel our best. So affirmations are like those superfoods for the soul, right? They're what feeding our soul and where we want to be in our life. So I like to start off with affirmations with I am statements. So feeling as though those affirmations, I'm already in that state. And then after writing the I am, I like to attach a feeling to it. So a feeling kind of, you could say affirmations multiple times, but without a feeling to it, it's not going to really mean anything to you. So attaching a feeling can really transition into how you would feel once you accomplish that. What state of mind or what do you want to be experiencing that provides XYZ for you.
Yes, I
Right.
completely agree with you. Oh, I love that you said that affirmations are like superfood for the soul, because when you think about it, words and numbers hold the highest frequency. And so when you speak words of life, when you speak words of wisdom, that literally gets engraved in your psyche. I remember when I was first really shifting my perspective about myself, right? Because as women, as a humanity, we tend to struggle with self-confidence. Everybody that I know is their own worst enemy, right? And so I remember when I was rewiring my brain around how I looked at myself, I would have to write these affirmations and these intentions in my journal, and I would say them out loud first thing. So it was like, just like you with your gratitudes, you write your gratitudes, your intentions, your affirmations, the I am, because it's recognizing that I am divine. And we are a part of a greater like collective, right? We're a part of a conscious collective. And so where we're constantly thinking like, high vibrational thoughts, that really is able to shift not only how we feel internally, but it also reflects of what we're experiencing on the external. I used to write these affirmations on Post-it notes and put them all over my apartment. Like, I mean, literally everywhere I went around my place, I was seeing these positive affirmations, and I started to believe it. So I remember writing in lipstick, I am enough, or I am beautiful, on my mirror. And the first thing that I saw when I looked in the mirror was those words that confirmed that I am. Like, you don't have to change anything about yourself. Just the way you are right now is enough. And that's powerful, that because it really did, it shifted my perspective on just the way that I felt about myself. And it works, it really does.
Yeah, and I did the same thing with the lipstick too. I would write it on my mirror and see it every day. They can be very profound too. Saying them out loud to yourself, that can bring even more of a higher frequency. I also wrote them on little cards that I would put on my nightstand and read before bed and upon waking up. So for example, like, I am confident to manifest my vision, or I am happily and easily earning 100,000 or more per year, or something like that. Those are just statements, and you can attach a feeling to, like, I am so joyful to be sitting out on the deck of my whatever square foot home you want to have. I'm sipping a cup of coffee, smiling at my spouse and saying, I'm so thankful that we worked so hard to accomplish this together, or something, whatever story that comes up in your mind, right? It's just creating that story. Because then in your mind creates this story and this image. And I think images even with social media, they say images are a lot more profound than words. So
Yes.
creating those images with what you want can manifest a lot more.
Yes. I completely agree. I like to call them mind movies.
Yeah.
Mind movies. And I always say that I am the main star of my own movie. And with manifestation, um, you have to see it in your mind before your physical reality catches up to it. So the more creative that you are, and even when you think that these intentions or these affirmations are absurd or like far beyond your reach right now, continue to write it out. And because the more that you imprint it in your mind, the more you start to believe it and the more it starts to manifest. So that is powerful stuff. Going on to the next point, because another thing that, you know, when you are thinking about these affirmations, these intentions, these gratitudes, it's important to take the time to quiet your mind. So I always start my days with meditation and with moving my body with yoga. Um, I pray, and because there's a difference between prayer and meditation. The prayer is the asking, it's the conversation, it's the knowing, it's the intuitive guide that you are going through the right the you're going in the right direction, right? But it's really that conversation with your higher self. And with meditation, it's like you're in stillness, you're quieting the mind, you're more aware and more in tune with what's happening in your environment. So it's so important to take the time. And I always do it in the morning and even throughout the day. I mean, literally, I've gotten to the point where I'm in meditative state all day. You have to be, you know what I mean? Like the more aware and the more in the now you are, the more you're able to manifest so much more abundance. Tell me a little bit about how you start your day with quiet time with your body, all the above.
Mm. I guess my morning routine kind of fluctuates. I'm always, lately I have been doing yoga, doing some sort of exercise and walking. Um, Meditation to me, it could be being more present. It could be meditation with walking, with movement. Meditation could be in different forms, even when you're with your significant other and you're only being present about you two and not thinking about something else. Of course, there is also just being still and present. And because being able to practice stillness is also great to practice. So there's different kinds of meditation, but I think trying to incorporate all different kinds is really beneficial for us.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think is so beneficial for meditation is it connects you with your intuition. So it kind of helps you find this deeper sense of what your purpose is. And then once you kind of see what your purpose is, it can also dive deeper into what actions you need to take to get to that point. So it could give you maybe like maybe some awareness of what things motivate you, what drives you, maybe more awareness of just maybe even your self-talk that you give yourself, what is stopping you from achieving that goal. It just gives you a deeper level of finding how you react to things and what you want in life, I guess, is what I find. And I've also found with certain meditations, sometimes I get these different images that really create a joyful feeling in me. So sometimes meditation brings out feelings inside of you that you didn't know were there too. But that's my experience. And I don't like sit down and meditate every day. That's something I have been working on. I know I do have a practice of yoga every day, which I bring meditation there. I usually focus on my breathing before starting, but
I'm glad that you said that there's different forms of meditation, because there are. And I think one of the reasons why people kind of stray away from it is because they think that, they have to go to like the specific little setting, and you have to like either sit there and like, I mean, no, when I tell you that I'm in meditative state all day, I'm in meditative state when I'm out in nature. I love to go hiking. I love to run. I'm just a very active person, and I'm a sun baby. So like I'm in a part of the planet where there is a lot of sun, majority of the year. So being out in nature and just appreciating, right? Just I'm a lover, and I'm sure you are too, you ladies. Like, I'm a lover of the moon. I love the stars. I live in New Mexico now, and it's my home state. This place is so magical. If you've never been here, you need to visit. But just being outside, like in nature, and looking at the sunsets and the sunrises, and I mean, that is meditation. That's a form of meditation too. So there's just so many ways. There's so many ways to be able to connect with yourself and with source without having to go into isolation and do it that way. So thank you for bringing that up. Um, a music. I am a lover of music. I don't know anybody who's not a lover of music. And music is another form of frequency that can be very beneficial for our healing and, just becoming more in tune and more aware. So I'm a fan of going to sleep with high vibrational frequency music. I like to call it my place of bliss, where it almost seems like you're in a spa. And it's the best time to do it when you're sleeping, because that's when your body is going into regenerative mode. So when you're listening to, and there's different ones, and maybe this call, we can kind of give an example, like we can post a link of a YouTube frequency channel that we can maybe introduce people to. One of the apps that I used to use a lot was, oh shoot, I just lost it. But there was a meditation app. When I remember it, I'll actually put it in the comments once we post it. But it's a meditation app that you can meditate with people all over the globe, and they have like guided meditations, either with frequency music or with an actual voice. So there's many different options that you can use to regenerate at a cellular level. Do you use frequency music?
I listen to all sorts of music.
Cool.
So I don't really search, high frequency music or anything like that, but I'm listening to music consistently. I grew up as a competitive dancer, so music is a huge part of my life.
What's your dance?
So with competitive dancing, did a lot of technique, ballet, hip hop, jazz, lyrical, contemporary, really anything they threw at us. There's one dance, it was like more Russian based. I've been to conventions where we learned like more tribal dancing and things like
Wow.
that. Did some tap. So I guess the strong points were contemporary and lyrical. I started off with hip hop, so that's also, I guess, my strong suit too. So.
And that's amazing. I mean, dance is, well, one, it's such an amazing workout, but just getting energy moving through your body and listening to those beats, it really just does something for your vibration. I know when I listen to music when I'm driving, it just puts me in a really good mood. And I listen to a lot of different types of music too. But as far as like frequency music, it's really good, especially when you're going through your sleep routine. So I guess we can go on to the next point. We had talked about the other day how nourishing, and we teach this every single day, the importance of nourishing your body with substance food that's fueled with phytonutrients and nurturing. It's going to be nurturing for a healthy gut, and which then sustains a healthy brain. And food is not really talked about as much as it should be. And because food, just like words are powerful, soul food, everything that we put into our body is just as important. And so, fueling your body with good nutrition is going to help your brain function at an optimal level, right? And when your brain is clear, you're able to really focus and zone in on that gratitude, to focus on the facts that your body feels amazing, and that you know that your body is a living vessel, and that you have the responsibility to nurture it and to nourish it with food that is going to make you feel good and give you the longevity that you need in your optimal health, right? So talk about what you do to incorporate really good, nutritious food into your life, since this is something that you teach.
Right. So living in Montana, it's difficult to get the most, I guess, nourishing foods. But I like to go for local foods if
Mm.
I can grow them myself, get them in season. So eating with the seasons, they're going to have a lot more nutrition value. They don't ship as far. They get picked when they're ripe rather than when they're being shipped. They're picked way before they're needed to be picked, and then they ripe during, transportation and whenever they're sitting in the grocery store. But I feel that foods have a frequency, and I think the science calls them, phytonutrients or bioactives. I feel like they are, in a sense, a higher frequency. They just have a lot more powerful foods that talk with our bodies. They affect our genes and how we live. So it's going to, of course, affect our energy levels. It's going to affect how our systems operate. Our gut health is going to be affected by the foods we eat too, which of course, our gut is our second brain. We've talked about this before, and that a lot of our hormones are actually produced in the gut. And so, and those hormones are what are communicating to our brain.
Yes.
So that's why food is so important for thinking about the manifestation too, because it's impacting your overall health and well-being and affecting your brain health, which operates, what your thinking patterns and moods are.
Yes, absolutely. Talk about some of the types of foods that you like to eat that's available to you during seasons, because I think one of the biggest things or the biggest challenges that people have is obviously the availability, but I think that there are, common fruits and vegetables or, supplements that people can use that I feel like are available to anyone, right? And so what are the simple things that people can implement into their life to be able to, like, get that higher frequency? Like, just kind of give some examples of some of the foods that you eat.
Actually, one of the biggest ones that have the most bioactives, going from that science term, are herbs and spices. So herbs and spices are actually one of the most potent, and they're actually still studying the amount of bioactives. And so the top ones are, of course, ginger, turmeric, your Mediterranean herbs. I'm trying to think. Oh, and if you consider pepper, but it's also a vegetable, but you can also use it as a spice. Peppers are also great. um, yeah, so they help with the metabolism and revving up that metabolism for our bodies. But I also forage for wild herbs too, like stinging nettle has a lot of bioactives that help with inflammation. I have chives. There's things like that. I've seen wild oregano that I've used.
Oh, I love oregano. Oregano is one of the ones that I use, and I actually use the essential oil of the oregano, just because it is more potent. So I do that, as I call them, my flu bombs. And so I make little essential oil capsules with the oregano and then some other blends of herbs. So there's so many ways that you can implement it without even like cooking it with it. You can make it in capsules and stuff like that. It's so available.
So when it comes to the most potent in herbs, it's actually they're showing studies that the paste that you can get at the store actually has a lot more. And they think it's because in the process of making that paste, they actually add in more antioxidants into the paste to have it be stable.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's a lot more in the paste form. The next is actually the dried form has more than the fresh herb
Oh,
form.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
so paste, dried, and then fresh. And other ways are, of course, to incorporate a variety different of herbs,
yes.
mix it up, and to get all the different effects. As the second one I would incorporate is cruciferous vegetables, just trying to get one of those types of cruciferous vegetables at least once a day.
Mhm.
Um, those can be very helpful. They're like the diamond of ingredients. They have the most powerful when it comes to fighting inflammation. So just for example, radishes, kale, arugula, bok choy,
Mm.
wasabi, um, and of course cabbage and cauliflower, watercress. There's, yeah, if you want to look up all of them, you can Google them, but
And there's so many ways. The cool thing about, even incorporating these cruciferous vegetables in a lot of different dishes, because I mean, I'm a vegan. I'm a vegan foodie, and I love to cook. And implementing these vegetables is a lot easier than what I thought. I thought it was going to be a lot more work to implement a plant-based lifestyle, but it's actually a lot easier than what it is to like cook, heavy meat dishes and stuff like that. Plus, it's faster. So that's really good to know. Thank you so much for sharing those, because I know that people now are really starting to see the importance of incorporating more whole foods into their diet. So just the more examples that we can give, the better. Um, so I want to talk about goals and really being consistent with that, because, oftentimes the reason why people don't manifest more abundance, or they don't really see results in any aspect of their life, is because there's no consistency. And the way to be consistent is by not thinking that you're going to drop a habit the next day. These are things that need to be shifted 1% every single day. So whether it's implementing 5 minutes of meditation into your routine because it's not something that you're used to doing, or you've never done it before. Or if you want to learn how to do yoga, do 10 minutes of stretching every single day. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a full sequence where it gets overwhelming and you can't stick with it. So I always recommend for when you're, especially when you're getting through the process of really trying to adjust your lifestyle, that in a way to where you find that you are feeling abundant all the time, is for you to make those 1% shifts. And it's literally something so minor that you can do every single day that is going to help you create this habit of reverting back to gratitude, or moving your body a little bit more, or making decisions with your food that is going to be more sustainable, and not feel like you're restricting or living on a diet every single day. Because at the end of the day, when you're manifesting more abundance, it really is a lifestyle. It's what you do. It's how you do something is literally how you do everything. So the 1% shifts are the best for sustainability. And I'm handing it over to you. When it comes to committing to your goals, what would you recommend to have it be more consistent or more sustainable?
I'd first start off with a crystal clear vision of
Mm,
what do you want.
that's good.
There are times where we put these goals in place that we don't really have this vision of what that's going to look for us in the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever time frame you want to have it. Sometimes our goals that we make aren't aligning with our vision of what we want for us. So sometimes we're putting goals because we think that's what we think we should do rather than what we want to do. Other tips are, of course, a lot of people have heard this already, but I'm just going to repeat it, is the SMART acronym. So that's the specific, measurable, attainable, realistic,
Mhm.
time bound. So making sure you have a specific goal in mind, instead of saying like, um, I want to lose weight. You want to put a specific number. Maybe you want to lose a certain certain amount of weight, or maybe it's a fat percentage, or just something that you can measure, right? Or yeah. And then of course attainable. So having, it's something that you can, basically it is something that you can do and not being drastic. Like I want to lose, 20 pounds in the next week or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's not attainable, right? So you want to make sure it's something that's attainable. And then realistic, um, they kind of seem very similar, but just something that realistically that you can achieve, and then time bound, putting a specific time, like when you want to achieve that. And then of course I like to attach a feeling to it, again wrapping back to the feeling. So sorry about that. Manifestation is really something that we already feel, so we want to embody that feeling of what that goal would look like once we achieve it. So for example, I wrote, going back to the weight thing, I was saying that, you know, I feel happy embodying 20% body fat or something like that. In on like April 2019, I think it was something. But so I achieved that because I remember I was going through this transition where, you know, I injured my knee and I wanted to get back to my fitness, you know, how I was at. And I think the fat percentage was better for me to kind of be realistic of, it's not that I necessarily wanted to lose weight, but I wanted to be able to hike peaks and things like that. So I wanted a certain body weight, so it was more attainable for me to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great because I've gone through my own personal weight loss journey too, and there was a point in time where one, I was yo-yo dieting, and then two, like I wasn't really sustaining it. I would revert back to old habits, and I wasn't able to consistently lose the weight. And it took many years for me to figure out what worked for my rhythm. But one of the biggest shifts that I had was self-acceptance, and not comparing myself to anyone else. And I think that's one of the things that we do when we're trying to attain something, right? Is that it's not really attainable for us. It might have been attainable for that person, but you're not that person. So you have to be very, very mindful of the fact that, you know, if you want sustainability, nothing that is worth having is going to happen overnight. And so that's why I talked about the 1% shifts, because when I shifted my perspective on my weight and recognizing that I can't, like, it didn't take me a day or even a week to get to the point that I was, because I was almost 200 pounds for someone that's 5'1". That's really heavy. And I had developed really unhealthy habits throughout my life. You know, so how could I expect for me to reverse all of the effects that I had on my body throughout all of those years in just 1 week or 2 weeks or even a month? You know, because I help people with weight loss too, and it really, like, it's that instant gratification that people are seeking, when instant gratification is not going to bring you sustainability or help you shift your mindset over time, because it is a lifestyle again, right? So that's good. I'm really glad that you brought that up, because weight loss is one of the biggest things that people want to manifest, right? But it does take a little bit of work of shifting your mindset in order for you to have, you know, develop better habits and to develop sustainability over time. And our body is a miracle, you know, to just love it the way that it is right now and to just nurture it, to have that awareness of what it is that you're doing consistently to help make those shifts every day. It makes such a huge difference. We talked about moving our body when we talked about music, but I really want to talk about moving our body even more, because that's really what kind of helps the energy flow through our body, not being stagnant. So even just like if you have an office job, which many people are working from home right now, so it's a little bit harder, you know, to get to the gym, but you don't need a gym. You don't need a gym to move your body. You can go outside, you can go for, you know, a 30-minute walk. In fact, walking alone can get energy, you know, stagnant energy moving through your body, and getting massages, getting energy work. I mean, there's so many things. So what are some of the things that you do to get energy moving through your body?
Mhm. When I was working at the long-term care facility, I'm working from home now, but I would put on a 90-minute timer.
Mhm.
And during that 90 minutes, I would actually go and take a walk. I would usually just walk around the block there. Sometimes it could be just taking a break from whatever you're doing. Maybe it's to go to the bathroom or to get some water, just getting some movement. Um, I also like to incorporate even just some stretches during when I'm working too, just taking the time to stretch my body. Maybe it's sitting on the floor,
Mhm.
touching my toes, doing little things like that is some great way to break that up. Um, and now, especially since it's nice out, I've been taking the dogs out on walks. So that's been helping me with the movement, just getting that going. Um, so yeah, I've always had it in my mindset that I need to incorporate movement
Mhm.
throughout my day. And so that's why I set the timer, because I'll get stuck into the workflow and not even consider that I haven't been moving for the last like 3 hours or 4 hours. So
Yeah. That's so good. And then even just like, getting up from your desk and doing like a sun salutation, a quick sun salutation, just to kind of get the flow moving quickly. Yeah, there's just so many things that you can do. And now with I feel like this was kind of a good thing, this isolation for people to really get in tune with the things that the things that they're passionate about, because I've seen so many um people that teach fitness or teach nutrition are now going online and teaching these things like live. They're doing Zoom calls. I mean, there's so many things available virtually now, to where if you do need a group of people or a support system, there's so many things that you can tap into now. Even YouTube, there's a ton of really great videos on YouTube that you can throw on your phone and just get it moving. Throw on some music. So that's great. Movement is awesome, and definitely gives you the ability to like tap into the ethers and feel the abundance all up in the environment.
yeah, I
um
want to do something real quick.
yeah.
Uh, Something about movement too. I tried something new with my boyfriend the other day. So coming from my dance background, right? But he doesn't have any. There's a YouTube. I don't know if you've heard of it's like the Step Up, the
Oh,
new Step Up that they have, but they have dance tutorials. So we put on a YouTube video for a dance tutorial to do some oh, I'm trying to, what was it? Oh my gosh. Anyways, it was a couples dance routine. So we learned the dance routine together and it was really funny. So we incorporated not only movement, but a way for us to connect.
oh, I
And
love that.
yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Oh, I love that. That's so awesome. I can't wait till I'm able to do that. Nowadays we are finding so much negativity, especially on the media. And there's just so many different opinions and so many outlets that have just different information, and you don't really know what to believe, right? I always find that it's so important to find the silver lining in every circumstance, in every situation, and to always find the positive side, even when it doesn't seem like it's a good situation, or when the manifestation is taking a really long time. Because remember, in order for us to manifest, we have to align ourselves to that frequency, to that abundance, because abundance holds a very high frequency. So if you're not operating at a high frequency and you're thinking negative thoughts about your circumstance, it's cool to feel things, it's cool. I mean, we're human, right? We're going to be negative at times, or we're going to feel like down about a situation, but it's almost like a light switch. You can literally change your state like that. So finding the silver lining in every situation, and knowing that there's abundance in every circumstance, because literally just the fact that we woke up this morning is abundance in itself. Like, that's magical in itself, that we're breathing right now. So tell me a little bit about how you are able to find silver lining in, circumstances or situations where you feel like you may not have manifested as fast as you would have liked.
Hmm. I'm trying to think of like the silver lining of certain instances. I guess it's um like maybe For example, I was in a very toxic relationship before the guy I'm dating now. And so I was just like, wow, I really wasted 3 years of my life, but I had to really switch that mindset and see the silver lining. Like, wow, I actually learned a lot from this person. Like I learned, to trust myself and trying new things and maybe being more social in circumstances, and also helped me develop as a person and what I wanted to have in a relationship. So to me, I think the silver lining is really important because our emotions do affect our body. Like when you think of a lie detector test, right? You're going to be sweating, increased heart rate, maybe some muscle tension, things like that. So when you have those, so just like the lie detector test, our thoughts, because it's actually our thoughts that the lie detector test is, well, I mean, it's your heart rate and everything is
Yeah.
testing, but thoughts that trigger it. And so our thoughts can be triggering certain effects in our body. So negative thoughts could trigger sweating, muscle tension, where positive thinking, it's creating those endorphins. You're feeling that high, or maybe even like more abundance, or just your overall pleasure. So I like to think about it like that, because when I notice I have that negative feeling, I'm like, I need to make a shift now, because that's going to affect my body overall. Like some people may have a lot of anxiety and stress and their shoulders really hurt, right? They have a lot of tension in their shoulders. So just overall thinking about how that negative thoughts are affecting my body. And so that helps me shift.
Do you follow Dr. Joe Dispenza?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh. So, homework, ladies, look up Dr. Joe Dispenza on YouTube and look at some of his teachings. He's a researcher and neuroscientist. That's what he preaches, like literally all over the world. Talks about the importance of the mind and how literally it's like a switch. You can literally switch it on and off, and you can activate your DNA. Dr. Caroline Leaf talks about that too, activating your genes, your DNA by just your thinking. So literally your mind is the most powerful tool that you will ever have. And if you don't try to find the silver lining in circumstances, you have the ability to create dis-ease in your body, because disease it really is man-made. So, yes, finding the silver lining is the most important when you are manifesting. And patience, patience, patience is a virtue. I have learned that over time, that if you don't have patience through this process too, like every circumstance, you should always look at as the opportunity to create more patience. And also more compassion and empathy towards yourself, right? Because the more empathy and compassion and grace, and which are all the components that create unconditional love, the more that you have that for yourself, the more that you're able to extend that to others, and that creates that creates the frequency that you're living in, right? So I did talk about earlier about the mind movies. Take yourself to your happy place. I always, when I work with my clients, that's the first thing that we talk about is one, gratitude, and two, like, let's take you to your happy place. What does that look like? And it doesn't necessarily have to be realistic for where you are right now. That's the whole purpose of mind movies, right? You're the star of your own movie. You can create anything that you want to create. So how are you doing that? How are you creating those thoughts that are, eventually going to become a physical manifestation of how you're feeling inside? So tell me, like, some of the things that you do to create some mind movies.
I listen to some self-guided meditations that can help me get into that little mind movie, just imagining what that looks like, kind of wrapping back to the affirmations and thinking of what I want to accomplish and the feelings I get, that kind of gets that image going. So those are some ways. I'm going to actually share with you guys one of the movies I like, or the guided meditations that kind of give that mind movie, I guess, but it's more about working on your inner self and having that relationship with your inner self, and it kind of produces an image in your head. But what are some ways that you
So being out in nature is probably one of my best, my favorite ways to go into my mind and create something amazing. Because, I've lived in some pretty magical places. One, Arizona, I was in for the last 5 years. I just moved back to New Mexico 2 months ago, and they're very similar landscapes, except that in Phoenix it's a bigger city, and there's a lot more mountains, and just like there's a lot more areas to go to be in the outdoors. But going out on hikes and just being outside kind of helps me get into my zone. And even when I drive, like when I'm driving and I'm listening to podcasts or listening to music, like I'm going in. And it wasn't always like this. I wasn't always this conscious of like where my thoughts were going. It took practice. It really took listening to people, how people did it, and implementing it and seeing if it worked. Because the way that you may do it may not be a way for me to kind of get in my zone. But I'm naturally a creative, and I think we all are. We just don't tap into it, because if we're utilizing all of our brain, we have the ability to really activate creativity in our. And that's actually the next point, is getting creative. Because the more creative you are, the more creative your mind movies are, and the more wild you like of a life you can create. I mean, it's about really experiencing, right? It's just allowing yourself to do things that are pulling you. I always say that your purpose and your passion is always attached to the things that you're drawn to. So I'm really drawn to traveling. I'm drawn to like photography, because obviously we're creative, so we love visuals, and photography is a big one. So I actually I have a vision board hung up on my wall right here. And I'm a big person. I love words, because words hold frequency, right? So I have a lot of statements, like you could see in the back of me. But yeah, all of my vision board is I feel like my perspective over time, because I'm 35 now. So what I wanted in my life in my 20s is completely different than what I wanted in my now what I want in my 30s, and it's going to continue to change, right? But it really is about getting very clear on what it is that you want to create, especially if you're doing it on a day-to-day basis, and always having a visual. For me, it's visuals. So yeah, the first thing that I see when I wake up, the first thing that I see when I go to sleep is my vision board and my mind movie. I do this like multiple times throughout the day. And yeah, I mean, it could look any way for you, because every person is so different. But yeah, if it's helpful for you to create visuals like vision boards, by all means. You can create them on your phone too, with just different apps that you can use. Like I love the photo grid. And the photo grid, I'll go and put images that I really like. That way it can take me to a place I want to be. Like I had Peru on my vision board. We've both been to Peru, but I had Peru on my vision board for 2 years, and I finally made Peru happen last year. And it's so funny, because when I put Peru on my vision board, I started seeing it everywhere. Like literally, it was like everyone I knew, even if I didn't know them, everybody was showing up in Peru. So literally, like, have you ever noticed that when you see a car that you haven't seen, for instance, if you are thinking about a red vehicle, I have a red vehicle right now, and I never really used to see red vehicles before I got my car, and now I see them everywhere. So it's like when you're focused on that one thing, you literally it's like it's abundant. Focusing on something. There's a statement that says, where focus goes, energy flows. So literally, whatever you're focusing on is whatever you're attracting. So making sure that you're getting creative, that you're connecting with nature, that you're watching less TV. I never turn on my TV. I used to be a TV watcher, but I now spend more time reading, getting creative, drawing, writing. I'm a writer, taking photos. What are some of the things that you do to get creative?
Yeah, I do. Like on Canva, I put images together, taking photos. I dance. do different things outside. I have a visual book as well. Instead of a board, I have like where I flip through the book and have different visuals there. I take courses as well. Like I'm doing a lot of online courses right now, and that's really been helpful because they have a lot of journal prompts. So that's
Oh,
been
okay.
helping me with writing different things, with my, what I want or past experiences that I have. So that's can be creative for me. I'd like to get back into writing poems. I used to write poems a lot. And I guess I'm learning how to play guitar as well. So
Oh
that's,
my gosh.
but that one I'm not as focused on, but I'm trying to. So I'm trying to set that like 5 minutes a day, but it's been more like 5 minutes a week, but I'm trying to.
But the fact that you're doing that much and you're not doing it to distract, right? You're doing it to grow yourself. I read a research study that said that your brain stops developing at 35 if you're not intentional with it. Like if you're not personally developing yourself. We are multidimensional human beings. We literally have the ability to do it all. Planet Earth has the most brilliant minds in the universe, right? Like souls are waiting to come to planet Earth because there's so much available to us. So there's no limit. I always tell people, don't limit yourself. Like you literally have the potential to do anything that you desire. But how are you going to know what your potential is if you don't even try? You know what I mean? Like if you don't even try to go out there to teach yourself, because anything can be taught. In fact, I taught myself how to do a headstand, and I had been doing yoga for a few years, and I never had the courage to do a headstand until just like 2 weeks ago. And in 2 weeks, I mastered the headstand.
Mm.
I was impressed with myself. Do you know what I mean? But you can teach yourself how to do anything. No limits. No limits. Um, One of the things I always tell people or share people with people or encourage people to do is do social media detoxes. It is so important to guard your energy. It is so important to fuel your timelines, your news feeds with good news. Literally, you have control, you have parental guidance on your phone. So, if you are getting to the point where you're spending hours and hours on social media and mindlessly scrolling and not growing your mindset, but you're actually like maybe feel a little stressed or overwhelmed, or you start going into the comparison trap, it really is time for you to take some time off of social media. I've done it numerous times, especially when I was like first developing myself, because when I didn't feel confident within myself, when I didn't really know who I was, it was easy for me to start comparing myself to other people, and I needed to guard my own energy. So I would do that for myself, and then I got to the point where I started unfollowing people. I started to unfollow pages, not watching certain news news mediums, in order for me to stay in my zone, to stay aligned with my energy, right? So do you do that? Do you implement the social media detoxes into your life, or have you ever?
I mean, I've done the unfollowing, but I actually, for one of my jobs, I do social media for business, so I'm on it a lot. So I haven't really done like a long period of time off of social media, but that's something I've been wanting to do. So what I did is I took the initiative and put out there that I'm looking for an intern. And so now I have an intern that's going to be taking over for me for social media. So that way I don't have to be on it, because I did notice this shift of me being kind of affected by what people are posting out there. And sometimes you can get very argumentative on social media. And I think it's just a lot easier for people just to kind of blurt out whatever they're thinking without really thinking it through. They're just kind of whatever comes to the forefront. And sometimes it could just be read differently too. And so you kind of react to it as well, thinking you're being defensive, but So for me, I'm making that shift towards it. And there have been periods where I go camping and things like that, where I don't have access to social media. So I'll upload everything into this platform. It's called Buffer. When I went to Peru, I wasn't on social media either, but I mean, yeah, I haven't taken an extended period of time where that's where I'm kind of wanting to go.
Yeah.
So
I think it's important for everybody to do it just because it really helps you get grounded and really get very clear on what it is that your purpose is versus really paying attention to what everybody else is doing. And I think that's in every aspect of our lives, right? You can do that on and off social media. I think when you give yourself that time to be intentional with your time, you're not on there mindlessly scrolling, and you're on there to serve a purpose, right? Because we do this for a living. I do free content all the time, and I use my social media platforms to do that. So I'm at a point now where I'm being very intentional with the time that I spend on there, but I didn't have that. Hadn't developed that strength in the past. So that's why I think it's so important for us to do it as a collective, because we just want to make sure that we're guarding our energy, right? And with everything.
I take mm-hmm.
Yes. And it's so important also to read and to learn. Like I mentioned earlier, that our brain stops developing at 35 if we're not intentional with it. And there's no limit to what you can learn and what you can know. There's so many great books. If you're, for instance, one of the ones that I really liked that was very playful, and it was based on her own personal story, was The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein that wrote that book. So I mean, that book is a good one for you to read if you're just now getting into the manifestation of more abundance, is reading examples of how people actually did it. Because Gabrielle Bernstein is not somebody that she didn't go to school from, like, people don't go to school to learn how to manifest abundance. Some people learn about law of attraction. It really is about actually allowing yourself to experience and to go out there and live your purpose, because the more that you do it, the more experiences you gain, and the more you know what works and what doesn't. So Gabrielle Bernstein talks about her experience with manifestation, and how regardless of what happened, good or bad, the universe was always backing you up, especially when you're in alignment with your gifts. So learning more, how do you implement more learning into your life every day?
I am consistently reading books. So
What are some of your favorites?
some of my favorites. I like to do like self-growth books.
Okay.
So I mean, the Principles of Success, if you want to talk about manifestation and things like that, that's a great book. Otherwise, if it's about like your business, Content Inc. is pretty good.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's just, I read all different things right now. I'm reading a book about ceremonies. So I'm just always incorporating different books into my life. I don't know if I have a favorite, because
Yeah, I don't either. I don't have a favorite, because I think that every single person that I've ever read about, or their story, or whatever it is, whatever content they write, there's always something. There's always these little nuggets, right, that you can take. I take everything with a grain of salt. Like I listen to a lot of teachers and I read a lot of books, but it really is about taking what resonates and then filtering out the rest. So it's not necessarily that you're going to agree with everything that you're reading, but it's important to take what it is that you're reading, take a few, good tips from it. And that's what I always gain, is that, there's going to be something to learn from everything that you read, the experiences that you have, and all of that. So constant learning. You had talked about developing a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So can you explain to us what the difference between the two is?
Yes. So growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So the fixed mindset is more like you're stuck in your ways. Maybe it's, for an example, you tell yourself that you're not good at remembering names, right? That's that belief that you have put on yourself. So you're stuck in that mindset that I'm just not good at names. And if someone comes up to you and says, there isn't, there's many ways that you can remember names, or of course you can remember names, and your mind just kind of blocks it out and doesn't listen. So that's like the fixed mindset of you're just not willing to take feedback, you're not willing to grow, you're kind of stuck in this limited view, right, of how your reality is. Where a growth mindset, you're willing to make changes on yourself, listen to feedback. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to take all feedback, and take it to a grain of salt, but you're at least listening to it. And you're just kind of opening your perspective or your worldview.
Yes, expansion. And that's really where you expand. I can't even imagine where I would be if I hadn't allowed myself to be open to different ideas. I mean, even I feel like even my perspective on abundance really changed when I did shift my perspective on growth versus fixed, and knowing that we're a never-ending evolution, and that there's no limit to what we can do. So when we have a growth mindset, we're able to manifest even more than we ever imagined, because we are so open. And that is the best way to attract the most abundance into your life. Because even when you think, I don't know, some people think that abundance is like, it's like the monetary, right? It's like I work and I get money and I'm going to make a lot of it. But there's more to money than just like the physicality of it, right? Because money is energy. And when you think about it, it is paper. It literally grows on trees. So when we recognize that money is energy, right, and that we're circulating it with responsibility, that it has the ability to grow and grow and grow. Well, that's how our mind works. Like when we know that we as a whole are energy, that we have the ability to expand at any level, that we're going to constantly be growing. And even when our physical body isn't here, our spiritual body still exists. So it's one of those things where the expansion, it never ends. So with that, I'm going to end this, because it's so important to with your growth mindset, to be able to cultivate new things in your life, and even skills that you never imagined possible. Like, for instance, the skill of manifestation. It really is a skill, because we have to learn how to adjust our mindset in order for us to be able to see the abundance that's already in front of us, right? Actually within us. We're abundant beings, right? To be able to attract more of that. So cultivating a skill, developing it. You mentioned that you're teaching yourself how to play the guitar.
Yeah.
So and is that something that you've always wanted to do?
I picked it up when I was in high school, and then I dropped it. So a good thing with mindset, it comes with belief systems, right? So I could have that belief system like, I don't have the skill to play guitar. That could be that limiting belief, right? But you can shift that mindset as not yet. I'm not playing guitar yet. So I can at least try picking it up and learning that skill set. So kind of the way to break it down is just to see what your beliefs stem from. If it's something someone told you, and you can see, okay, when someone told me this, I reacted this way, or my thoughts was this way, which made me feel like I'm not good enough, I'm not loved, or something like that. You kind of see that pattern. So when you can break down those mindsets, you can kind of start those belief systems, you can kind of start shifting that mindset too. So yeah, that's just some tips, but you can write down like those, what skills do you have? What are you good at? And then also make a list of what skills you don't have, what skills you don't, or what you're not good at, and what skills you don't have, and kind of compare the list. And you want to make the growth list be bigger than the fixed list of what you're not good at.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
And then also another thing that is very helpful is understanding what that story is, right? Because like you said, it's like the words that you use, like for instance, I'm not good at playing the guitar, or it's going to be really difficult for me to learn that, is knowing that when you shift, that you can teach yourself anything, and that when you take the time to actually develop it, like literally that's where the 1% shift happens, right? If you're taking 5 minutes every single day, or even if you start 1 week with 5 minutes of practicing, and then the next week you go to 10, and then the next week you can do it 2 days a week instead of one. That's how I teach people how to go vegan, because I coach people, and it took me 4 years to transition to this lifestyle. And I never imagined, I remember like 10 years ago, I said, and even right before I transitioned, I didn't even think that I could do it, right? But it was those small shifts, the small habits that I was changing every single day, giving myself the time to actually spend time with myself, right? And then rewriting the story. Like, I am never going to learn how to play the guitar. It's going to take me time to learn the guitar. And I'm going to practice every single day so that I can get better. Just an example, because I mean, there's so many things that people are trying to learn, right? But they don't give themselves the ability or the time, and even like the intentional, like just the mindset shifts to be able to like not force yourself, but just do it naturally.
And I'd recommend probably sticking to 4 and not overcrowding the different skills you want to learn, right? So you want to be able to be focused and stick to that skill you want to learn. So I'd stick to probably 4 maximum.
And then also taking action once you are like, say you're this was me a few years ago, where I call myself a personal development junkie, but I really was like, where I was going to all these workshops because I was so eager to learn, right? But then I wasn't, like, I was learning all these things, but then I wasn't applying it. So what's like the purpose of you learning these things if you're not going to apply it? So I was like, you know what? I need to stop going to these workshops, and I need to stop taking these classes so that I could actually start applying what I've learned so far. And then once I'm able to master what I learned so far, then I can go for more.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, well, that's actually, we've gone through the whole list, and this was really good. I really enjoyed this conversation. How about you, ladies? Thank you so much for joining us on this call today.
I love it.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to open up to questions if they have any.
Yes, definitely. If you have any questions, feel free.
What was that? What was that doctor's last name? There was a book you mentioned.
Yes, so there's two doctors actually, or neuroscientists, that I highly recommend, and the first one is Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, how do I spell his last name?
It's Dizpe. Oh wait, no, hold on. It's Dispenza.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yes, and then the other one that is really great, she's actually from Australia, and you'll love hearing her speak. Her name's Dr. Caroline Leaf.
Oh, Caroline Leaf.
Yes, Leaf. Yeah, and they're both two really great. I just love learning from them. They're such great teachers, and it's information that is so simple, yet it's like so profound. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just easy shifts that we can do consistently, where like you're going to start to experience abundance like all day long, and even just experience radical healing within your body, feeling more energy and more clarity. And yeah, so it's so important to seek these people out, because there's a lot of teachings out there they're so simple to apply, and that can really shift like our lives drastically.
Brontë, you mentioned that first, instead of doing a vision board, you have like a vision book. Do you do your journaling in the same book, or do you have like a separate book?
Like just journaling my feelings kind of thing.
Yeah, well, you had mentioned like instead of a vision board, the book, like, so I'm envisioning sort of like a scrapbook. But
yeah.
do you then do your journaling in a separate journal?
Yeah, they're separate, but on the visual book, I'll put down the affirmations and the feelings next to the image. So, but I mean, you can do it in the same if you want, but the book I use, it's like an art book.
Mhm.
And so if I'm done with that, if I don't feel like that vision resonates with me, or if I don't want that goal, I just tear it out.
Nice.
Do you, I forgot, oh my gosh, Erica, is it Erica? Oh, so, Monica, we've been on this call for a while, so I already like changed my frame of mind. Do you have any questions, Monica, or do you have any comments?
Sure. Am I muted? Just a second.
You're
No,
not.
I can
hear you.
Oh, okay. I didn't get the whole acronym, what SMART stands for. I just got specific goals. I had never heard of that, so
Yeah,
I was wondering.
Jim Quick, right?
measurable,
Jim,
attainable, realistic, and time bound.
okay,
But
thanks.
I remember Jim Quick talking about that. I'm glad.
Oh,
Yeah.
I learned that in school, actually, and I've seen it repeated in many different areas of my life. So it's stuck.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Do you have any other questions?
I took notes. I guess not. But thank you. It was really positive and inspiring, and I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today. I'm so grateful for the people that are going to take the time to watch this. It is a recorded call, so we're going to download it and upload it to our social media platforms so you could take a look at what we have to offer. And we're going to be doing these more frequently. I really enjoy these a lot. And I think it's really important that we continue to have conversations like this, because there are so many people on this planet that need to hear the good news. Thank you so much, ladies. You are so amazing, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.